But we saw the Hoosiers get a must-win game against Rutgers at home. And we're going to talk about the SEC. Is their football dominance coming to a close now that we've seen all these games? What do we think about all of it?
Pretty simple. I win.
For three on the way.
Hello, guys, and welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this Indiana Hoosiers community on here. So today we have a lot to talk about. Indiana, we're going to talk about their game. They beat Rutgers. Sorry I did not make a video yesterday, but many players had really great games against Rutgers. And, of course, their best player, Dylan Harper, did not play in the game. So we're going to talk about that. Who played well? Umar BALLO shows up, really plays like balls to the wall. And that's what we're going to need out of this guy in all of these Big Ten games, for him to put that type of performance. You know, not just because you got caught out of the bar. You need to do that every single game. But if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you for joining me. This is Indiana Sports Connection. We're the most passionate fans that come to talk about the games. Hit that thumbs up button. It gets the video out to more Hoosier fans. Let's try to get this video up to over 200 likes. We can pump this out to Hoosier Nation all over the globe. And the video is brought to you by BetUS. Use my promo code Indiana125 and save 125% on your first 3 deposits, and also 10% of the AdSense revenue on this channel goes to T2T.org. Thank you to all the veterans out there. Without the veterans, we are nothing. So now you subscribed, you hit that thumbs up button. Without further ado, let's get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. Alrighty. Hillbilly Monkey, what did you think of the Rutgers game? What did you really think of how the Hoosiers got it done in that game?
Well, BALLO, I mean, he played like, like he got caught out drinking and he was, ashamed of himself, so he's going to put extra effort in.
Yeah, that is exactly what I thought. It's like this guy, he got caught, and then he's going to come out and play. My point is, he needs to play like this every single game. Like BALLO, he's got to show up and play in every single game, just as he did in the game the other night. Can he do that tomorrow at noon at the Palestra against Penn State? We shall see. Because this Rutgers game was against a really weak team that didn't even have their best player. And to tell you the truth, I kind of feel like Steve Pikiell sold himself down the river for these two really talented players, because Ace Bailey, I mean, he goes nuts for them for 39 points. And, they have Dylan Harper on their team too. The Rutgers teams that played really tough defense and played that style, that is not what we saw in Assembly Hall. So, yeah, is it worth it to sell your whole culture down the river for two talented players? I don't know. That when I was watching that IU game, I thought, this is a lot of what has happened to IU. Yeah, they get Rutgers has these super talented players and everything, but did it really make them that much better of a basketball team? I don't know. I mean, it seems like Rutgers kind of lost their identity. Rebounding, defense, it seems like that's what this guy built there. But enough talking about Rutgers, because let's talk about all the players that had great games for Indiana in this game, because I think Ibaka had 16 points. He's had kind of a lot of down games. Miles Rice really played well. Could this be a time where could he start really rounding into form in the playing for Mike Woodson? I think it's really hard to play point guard for Mike Woodson. I think the way he teaches the game, it causes you to turn the ball over a lot. I don't think he's real sound of a coach of telling you how to do it. I think he just tells you to do it and expects you to be able to get it done. Rice with 21 points. That's pretty good. 3 assists and 5 rebounds. He had a really nice offensive rebound, and the whole team did better on offensive rebounding. And, they did better offensive rebounding, but also, like I said, Rutgers used to be a team that relentlessly went after rebounds, and it just wasn't there, the effort for them. Mbako had 16. Galloway had 11. I mean, that's a solid night for Galloway. Galloway needs to hit some three-pointers and be able to score like 10 or 12 every single night and be counted on for that. That's a decent night for him, and I just wish his days were more consistent where he scored like 12 every game and didn't have these fluctuations. And Umar BALLO, 17 points, 12 rebounds. He finally shows up. I mean, BALLO, he shows up, and yeah, he's been taking a lot of heat and a lot of criticism, and you can tell that gets under your skin. Nobody likes people talking shit about them, calling them lazy and all these other things. Maybe you watched my video. Maybe you watch this video, and you just keep doing that. Keep getting it done, my friend. And Leo had the long three-pointer. That was a huge shot, the long three-pointer that Leo put in before the halftime. And look, Leo has played some of the best defense and really has bought himself some time on the court. I mean, he's going to play probably 18 to 25 minutes, and he should, because look, Kanan Carlisle cannot play. Kanan Carlisle should not be out there. He had some shots in this game where they were just totally forced. They were really awkward how he was getting the ball off. And I don't know what's going on with him, but I could definitely see him as a player that would transfer out next year, or that I just don't think he can be on the court for this team. He doesn't know what to do or where to be, and he really hurts the team on offense, and he's not that great a defender. I mean, I've went back and rewatched the game from yesterday. There are times he just gets out of position and burned and does not move his feet that well. And there are a lot of players on this team that don't move their feet that well. Luke Goody, I mean, he got taken right to the hoop. He gets drove on a lot, so it's pretty hard to have like multiple guys out there who just don't want to defend or can't defend. Luke Goody's one of them that does it, and Mbako is a work in progress. That's what else helped. Having Renew out of the game, and I hate to say that we're a better team with Renew not in the game, but when Renew is out, Renew has silly fouls, and he plays a very stupid style of basketball. And yes, he does score with that hook shot around the basket sometimes, but a lot of times Renew ends up hurting the team in a lot of ways, like by just hanging around the basket, stopping drivers from being able to come down there. And the bottom line is BALLO is a better defender than Renew is on the back end. So if you're going to have somebody sitting back there for 30 minutes a night on the back end of your defense, you want it to be BALLO. And I think this team plays better with Renew not in the game, because he is, people have said he's a good passer. He never passes the ball out of the post, and that is a big time problem with him. And his foul problems just continue, where he cannot guard people down low and not get into foul trouble. But Indiana, they played like one of their best games. I mean, this is by far their best win of the season. You know, Rutgers was down a player, and Penn State is going to be experienced team. They have like almost all the same players back from last year, and they have that point guard Ace. I am blanking on his name, but they still have him. They still have a lot of the same players. You know, they took it to Purdue at home, and we've seen Penn State really be a tough out at home. So they're going to play them at the Palestra Center, which I love to say. Palestra. Hillbilly Monkey, what does it remind you of?
I'll tell you, it reminds me of Olestra. That was them chips they made back in the 90s that give you the diarrhea.
That's right. That's right. My grandma bought a lot of those chips until we found out on the directions it said may cause leaky stool. Remember that? Boy, we were all leaking. We didn't know what the hell was going on. The Olestra, the Polestra, you got it all here on Indiana Sports Connection. But now let's talk about the SEC. Now that all these games have wrapped up, look, Indiana and Curt Cignetti, they come out of this whole thing really smelling like a rose. I'm going to tell you, Georgia gets beat. Texas is the only team from the SEC in. Notre Dame and Ohio State are both in the Final Four, the only two teams that Indiana lost to. So in the end, and I've done a lot of videos ripping on Kurt Herbstreit and different people, but in the end, Indiana, as much was a team that should have been there and belonged there and looked like they belonged there by the final scores of their games, by how all of these games played out. Because look, Tennessee got completely beat by Ohio State, and Oregon did the same thing. And yeah, Indiana played them in a much tighter game in the first half. It was like before the punt, it was 7-7. So, and Indiana played Notre Dame in a really tough game. Look, Indiana was not that far away from maybe getting one over and beating a team like Notre Dame. I think their inexperience in the end. And I do think that the inexperience of Curt Cignetti and the coaching staff being in such a big game like that against like a top level team, I think it took them aback. I think their game plans were very conservative. I think after they get, some of these under their belt where he's played in the Big Ten longer, Curt Cignetti has, that he will become a better play caller in this conference. Because we got to remember, he, and he doesn't call all the plays for Indiana, but just as an overall, like how they're going to call games, how they're going to game plan for some of these top level teams. I think he'll have a better idea about that going forward. But Indiana football comes out smelling like a rose. I got to say that because, yeah, we took a lot of heat and a lot of bullshit from a lot of different people ripping on us like that we shouldn't have been there and all this bullcrap. And yeah, the SEC, those were the teams that surely should not have been there. And there is something happening with NIL money and the way that teams are being structured. Like the SEC is not going to have the top level teams every single year, year in and year out, because look, these kids, they want paid and they don't want to sit as a backup offensive lineman on Ohio State or a backup defensive lineman on Alabama. These kids want to go to a school like Indiana and play right away as a freshman and get their name out there and make some money. So that's where it's all being, the playing field of all of this is being leveled. I can't wait to watch the next level of this playoff, and I really, really hope Notre Dame wins the entire thing. I think that would be huge for Notre Dame and just everybody. And look at, if you want to look at where, remember, what's his name? Brian Kelly. Oh, man. And he was such a kind of ass when he left Notre Dame, saying really kind of like, I can't win here. You guys aren't going to be like a top level program where I can get the top recruits and win. And you look 3 years down the road, so much has changed with NIL. So much has changed with all this stuff. Brian Kelly doesn't look like he's anywhere close to getting LSU to a national championship game. And Marcus Freeman has Notre Dame sitting right on the doorstep of a national championship game. Just have to say, be careful what you wish for out there, because, yeah, Brian Kelly, he went to the SEC, thought that would be easier, and now the SEC maybe isn't the division it looked like it was at one time. And yeah, how are you they're not going to let a 3-loss SEC team in ever. I think you can watch all of these games play out and tell that is just never going to happen. But huge game for the Hoosiers tomorrow. I'll be making a video after that game. And thank you. Bruh. Oh, I almost forgot your segment. No, I didn't forget you. I would never do that. Why would I do that? I would never do that.
Carved from the sands of the Wabash River and formed into a monkey lamp that's sold at Home Goods. It's the Hillbilly Monkey Perspective on Indiana Sports Connection.
Well, the Indiana basketball team, they did play well, but they got to put this kind of effort and put these type of games together, game in and game out. That's what got me so worried about watching these guys play a good game, because I think they're going to be thinking it's all sunshine and rainbows. They're going to come out there against Penn State and get their ass completely handed to them. I hope that doesn't happen, but the way they got to definitely keep themselves on a level thinking field so that they don't get too far ahead of themselves.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And why do we agree so much, Hillbilly Monkey? It is astounding how much we think alike. You are right. The Hoosiers, they got to keep their heads level, because just beating Rutgers, that does not really mean shit. And going forward, it's going to be a lot tougher with these Big Ten games. So they better be ready to play Penn State tomorrow at noon. It's going to be on. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Till next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.